We're here today for the Boyd County Board of Supervisors special meeting, February 19th, starting at 9:15. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Number 2 on the agenda is public comment. Any public comment? Okay.
I fell in the driveway this morning. A couple other people almost fell. I'd like
Where at?
the parking lot that we're not allowed to park in anymore.
You fell in that parking lot?
Yes, sir, I did.
Just the one that was coming in.
And I was being careful. I parked across the street. That parking lot was okay. As soon as I hit this parking lot, I fell and landed on my elbow. Did not feel good.
Are you okay?
For right now, I think a lot of it is pride and a little pain, but that's okay. My concern is we had a custodian here this morning that was too busy cleaning a bathroom instead of putting salt outside. Now, I understand the salt was on the steps, but that doesn't work. A path needs to be made for people who are parking across the street. And that goes for the other parking lot also. There should be a path that is salted for people to walk along until the big trucks come in and do their thing. Okay, that is my concern. Dustin was very kind and generous and went out and got my keys because I dropped my keys and I wasn't going to walk back out there. The custodian came out of the men's bathroom and just went outside and didn't do anything. Came back in and did his job.
Oh, we can
I'm sorry,
check on
but we knew the storm is coming in. We need to take precautions to make sure that people don't get hurt. People have told me that they slipped coming in. I mean, they were holding on to the vehicles coming in.
And I can understand, I mean, this is unusual circumstances that we
Yes.
have with this amount of ice that's coming.
Yes.
And as quickly as it's coming.
Yeah.
I know it was slick for myself also,
Yes.
but we'll make sure that, you know, we try to address. I would imagine salt is out there now. I mean, and
I
I do want
haven't-
to say that that parking lot is not unusual. I mean, it would be anywhere right now.
Correct.
Based on the conditions that we have outside,
Yes.
yeah.
Did Dusty say he was going to have the crews take care of it?
I don't know. I don't know. But you had quite a few people almost falling this morning in the parking lot. Not the steps, the parking lot. And I don't know what else to do.
We'll check on that then, and well, I can call Dusty.
You are right at the onset of this ice coming in.
Yeah.
There's slippery roads, there's slippery conditions everywhere.
That's why I say, I know when I came into, I had Dwayne out there watching, because it was like immediately, when I left the house, it was fine. So I
Right.
mean, I think it's come on so quickly
Yeah.
that it just caught a lot of us off guard there.
Yeah. Well,
As to how
the
quickly
sidewalk,
it turned
the
ice.
sidewalk is all salted for the people across the street, but nothing is salted up here.
Okay,
And that's,
Because he was out there when I came in.
was he? So maybe
But
it
just
was
in front of
the
the
time.
steps.
It might have been just the time.
so,
Okay.
I'm just saying
All
that.
right.
I've been here 8 years and never fell, never.
Well,
And
again, I mean, the conditions
it's-
outside, or everybody needs to
yeah.
be cautious too, but I appreciate you
But
coming. But
I'm
we'll
bringing
check.
up a concern
Okay.
that
All right,
I don't want to see somebody else fall anywhere on the premises, you know.
I agree. I agree. Like I said, we all just need to be really cautious today, even
Yep.
salt, you know, based on what they're indicating, I mean, it's gonna be nasty.
Oh, I know,
So
I know.
We just
But-
have to be real careful.
We gotta try and do something to make it better.
All right,
Thank you.
okay, thanks for coming. All right, with that, we'll go to item 3, which is update on various boards, commissions, activities since the last meeting.
All right, a landfill meeting, it was a sad story, we didn't have enough for a quorum, it was a huge meeting, we were gonna award $1 million construction job for a new cell and didn't have a quorum. So, same story tomorrow night, hopefully the guys come holds away. But we're operating under the publication. Tomorrow's the last night we can do it without using it again, so hopefully it works out.
Okay.
They tried and couldn't get enough. Well, the sad story was, it came to find out that them three were in Floyd County, that these small towns don't have their representatives, and they haven't shown up for a long, long time.
That's unfortunate.
Don't even have anybody you can get a hold of, so. They're working on that this week. And the other one was a conference board I went to.
All right.
Yes, I attended a strategic planning session of the Charles City Area Development Corporation. It was conducted by the Institute for Decision Making at the University of Northern Iowa. And we had reports from all the committees of the CCADC and talked about our action plan for the future. It was a very productive 2-hour meeting.
Great.
As I did not attend the conference board after that, because it took a little longer than I expected, so.
We had enough, so
Good.
it was fine. All right, anything else?
No?
All right, the ones that I attended from our last meeting was a business improvement meeting that we had on Thursday. The conference board, on that same day, I attended approving the budget, and then also the emergency management public budget reviews right after that. And then we had a law enforcement center meeting after that. That particular day was a busy day. Other than that, those were all the meetings I attended. So with that, the next item is number 4, presentation for broadband communications funding for fiscal year 19. Mark Ricks, thank you for coming.
Absolutely, good morning.
All right. So we had asked you to come and just share a little bit more information on the budgeting for this particular service.
Copy. The Charles City Broadband Telecommunications budget is funded annually from cable franchise fee revenue. 5% of cable TV providers' gross annual revenues in town. Of that, 10% goes into the city's general fund and the rest goes into broadband. The broadband commission is appointed by the mayor. We have the 5-member board as well as ex officio members, and they have been working hard over the past 5-6 years to really increase the amount of public information that is on broadband. One of the big things that we've done, and we work with the school, we now have, we call it Public Access Network, or PAN. And we now have a full-time PAN director, which is Justin, who's here today too. And one of the first things we did was add a website. So anybody who does not have MediaCom can still see everything that is on the PAN, including supervisor meetings, school board meetings, and city council meetings. They can go to the PAN website and see that at any time, and it's archived on there.
Mm-hmm.
So that really increases reviewability as well as getting your message out to all of our governmental boards, which we felt was really important. Our annual broadband budget is currently $65,000. The re-estimated new budget is $60,000. That has been declining every year. 7 years ago, our franchise fee revenue was over $70,000. So it's been declining every year.
Where did the 5% come from?
That came from, that was the original, back when TCI came in, bought cable to Charles City. That was the originally negotiated budget that MediaCom then took over. And the state then has taken over renewal and control of the franchise fees, so that's been locked in. So we get the broadband commission, again, we're looking at $60,000, it's been declining, but that's the budget we work with each year. Of that, we have $57,389 is paid out for contract services, which is coming up in our budget. We contract the school district for providing public access broadband facilities, technical support and services, housing and use of equipment, and producing local programming. That amount is currently $37,796, will be going up in fiscal year 19 to $40,049. It should be clarified that fee is not paying for a full-time
Yes, sir.
band director, or he's actually the school's communication and
Community engagement.
community engagement officer. We
Okay.
contract the school through 2080 agreement for services and IT support. So that's a big part of that. But this is not fully funding this position. This position works for the school district, has other responsibilities as well. Also part of that is, as we found out the last flood incident we had, our communications, community engagement director has been used by the district's wants needs, and at the request of the City of Charles City Administrator, he serves as a county, or as emergency public information officer for the area within Floyd County. As Justin will tell you, he got a call to see if he could come over for an hour to help out, and he left 3 days later. So, glad to provide some valuable information. When Charles City was having flood issues a couple years ago, we had live, was it Facebook streaming or YouTube?
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live streaming updates every day.
That worked
And
well.
we got a lot of public input about that. People really appreciate knowing what's going on and finding out the latest. We also have 20 agreements with community revitalization for administrative services related to the Broadband Commission, as well as the Chamber of Commerce for input of public information requests and monitoring of broadcasts. In addition, $3,000 is allocated for video recording of meetings and events. $30 per meeting is paid out to camera operators other than the band director. It is our intention to try to utilize students a lot, but we've got other adult volunteers as well, depending on the meetings. Band director's got a number of other duties, but we want to make sure all our meetings are covered as possible. We have a unique situation with the supervisor in which you meet at 9 a.m. During weekdays, so it kind of eliminates students being able to do it. Additional line items in the budget include school studio equipment, capital equipment purchases, an incentive grant fund for technology assistance grants that are available to businesses, as well as we've been doing a fiber feasibility study the last couple of years. Currently we have $36,000 budgeted for that, and we have another $3,000 budget next year for consultant work. The purpose of that is we're moving forward with the process of trying to get fiber to the home, fiber to our businesses, the redundant loop, so that a cut will not disrupt services, and working with other communities to try to engage that loop. So we're looking into the possibility of a municipal broadband utility. Decision hasn't been made yet, but that process is moving forward, whether we do it or we go through our provider or a combination of the two.
So again, if that goes through, then will these numbers go down in the future?
These numbers can change. They've been changing. They were steady for a long time. They've literally been changing every year for the last 5-6 years. A lot of dealing with the revenue, and then with the studies, we've been dipping into the reserve fund to make the difference of that. The current budget for 19 is about $10,000 short as far as what's coming in versus what we're spending. That's not
You're
something.
You're only getting revenue from MediaCom
Correct.
to Dish and Direct, so it's a similar story to the 911 and the cell phones and the landline that we went through with that.
Yeah, the 5% franchise fee revenue is the only income we have for this.
So as more and more people cut the cord, supposedly.
And at the same time, we've been trying to improve and increase what's being covered. We had our last annual report here. This will give you a quick idea. Just November 20th through December 31st, you can see all the different events that were covered on the public access network. Anything from meetings to school orchestras, Representative Todd Pritchard's press conference, Grassley was in town hall meeting,
Right.
Cedar Talks, legislative listening post. When we have candidate forums, Pan is there and records that. Again, it's all trying to disseminate as much of this public information to the public as possible.
I don't see anything on your website from the meeting last Monday from the Floyd County Communications. Was that not recorded?
That was.
It was recorded. It is on the website. It's under county.
Under
Because-
county, okay.
Because it's a joint city-county meeting, and because it was requested by Linda to record it, we put it under county.
Under the county board of supervisors?
Correct.
And Justin, I do believe you had it out there. I got the email on that like Thursday or
Yeah.
something. I think that he
Yep.
had it published.
We had 3 places to be that night. The school board, which we're obligated to,
I said,
okay, the county,
thank you.
so the school board that we're obligated to be at, we had an orchestra concert, and then there was the joint board.
Communications.
Yep, and Linda had requested that, and we pretty much take requests from organizations that we regularly cover, and we'll cover those. The snafu that we ran into that night was, we have 2 sets of gear. And so, in 3 places to be at the same time.
Well, I'm glad it was recorded. It was an important meeting, and I know we wanted to have all our discussions regarding the bond referendum and the proposed jail available to the public, so I'm glad it was.
The other thing I would mention too, I mean, such as today, typically, we would have you come the 2 meetings a month and record our actual meetings where we take action. Being that this is a special meeting, again, he's, you know, I appreciate it, you know, that you're available, you know, to come in those other times, like the communications board meeting, and upon request, you know, to be able to record these.
So this is off your subject, but yes, what would another set of gear cost? If we just wanted to have a set here so you didn't have to go through all this commotion all the time.
The camera's gonna run, if you go with a camera like this, you're looking at about $1,800 for a camera, about $100 for a tripod, a couple,
Microphone?
you asked for gear.
Right, I understand.
So, probably $50 for 2 SD cards, somebody's keeping track here. If you want microphones, then, if I were gonna make a recommendation on a microphone system, you'd probably, if you wanna go inexpensive yet good, you're probably gonna drop $3,000 to $5,000 on a microphone system.
3 to 5,000 or 35,000?
$3,000 to $5,000, depending on what it would be, because I think you'd need about 5 microphones, and I'd recommend the ones that the city uses, because those are very, very good, and picks up, it's what we used at the communications board that night.
And both the city and school provide their own sound system.
Right, right, and we had mentioned that, you know, if we get the referendum approved, that was one area that we're looking at, is redoing the supervisor boardroom. And with that, what would it take, you know, to put the audio equipment needed in place?
And even mounting cameras, then it's not so intrusive.
Right,
It's not in the way, you've got much better visibility, you can plan it.
right.
But in addition to the equipment though, you also need to find an operator, pay an operator to run it.
Mhm.
And as people will tell you, you don't necessarily just find an IT guy or somebody to turn the camera on and let it go.
Mhm.
It's gotta move around, it's gotta capture what's going on and
Right.
adjust. And then there's the post-production in order to get it on to
Right.
the system, because it'll take anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours.
Depending on the meeting.
Depending on the
It
meeting
says
and the
about 1.5,
quality.
and that's what you would put in.
Very
here.
conservative, yeah, that was, we were trying to be very conservative. It's,
Okay,
for an hour meeting, it's been up to 3 hours.
yeah.
Or post-production time. Again, it depends on the sound quality, the quality of the video,
Mhm.
and it's gotta be transferred to a format that will play on both the pans on Channel 4 as well as on the website.
All
What we've
right.
done is currently, you know, the city and school are both paying into this. They don't, it's not broken down into a per meeting like it is this, because they're part of the 2080 agreement, but the school is paying a good chunk of his salary, and providing the equipment and people that run it, the school, the city's paying the school for that, the school's paying Justin. Currently, we were thrilled to have the supervisors added to the public meetings that are on there. We think it's a very valuable service.
I agree.
In an ideal world, we could do that without any additional cost. In order to keep providing services and with dwindling budgets,
Mhm.
the commission just feels it's fair if all entities at least contribute. As of 2018, the county, I believe, is currently the heaviest user of the PAN network as far as public meeting coverage in area. Otherwise, it's broken down to a third city, a third county, a third school district. Those meetings are run daily, twice a day, twice a day, in the morning and then again later in the afternoon. And then they're available for the public at any time through the website.
Okay.
What would be the cost to record the regular board meetings on an annual basis? What would we need to budget? I mean, this is-
3,000 is what they propose.
Well, that's what, they're talking about 125 meeting.
Yeah,
So how many meetings do we have in?
that's two, that was only the.
That's based on
That's
two
just
a
the
month.
two, and that's
Tuesday
why,
action meetings.
right.
That's based on 2 a month.
right, like today, they're having a special meeting, that's going above, yeah,
The
those two
communications board
meetings.
meeting, we've been another special meeting.
And, correct.
So in the first 2 months of the year, you've requested 3 special meetings plus your regular meetings.
Right.
What's the annual cost of our publication of our minutes in our meetings?
I think it's around,
I don't know.
12,000.
Those are published in both of our official county newspapers.
Yeah, 2 newspapers, and that would be,
And that's,
if you had
that's
ordinances, that would,
required.
it wouldn't be just meetings, it
By
would be
state law.
ordinances and all that too, yeah.
Well, she's looking at it, so you know, the commission had a long discussion about trying to keep this as fair and affordable as possible and coming up with the $3,000. If we actually broke down what city's paying for pan services, 1/3 of that would be $13,496. So, you know, we're trying to keep things going and as economically and affordable as possible. But it is difficult to be able to guarantee we can continue to provide the county with coverage as much as possible with our budget changing all the time. And it's a fluid, I've told Linda this too, it changes from year to year depending on the situation. If the city decides to go with this municipal broadband utility,
Right.
that could change the game altogether that way as well.
Right,
So it's like all technology, it doesn't stay the same from year to year.
right.
So 11, in fiscal year 16, $11,127. Fiscal year 17 was $12,983. So far to date, we're at $6,649 for
Just the publications.
7 months into the year.
All right.
That's,
Bob's taking all your money.
encourage you to talk to your lobbyists about publication of resolutions, entire text resolutions, and save them money. You get that passed and not have to do that. Cities don't have to do that.
If the county decided they wanted to buy all their own equipment, hire their own person to record this, do everything, and then just give us a basically ready to go, it'd have to be in a MP4 format.
MP4 and MPEG-2.
If that was handed to Justin ready to go, then we're still looking at about a half an hour of production services to get it on.
Correct.
So it'd break down to, we'd have to look at it closer in that regard, but you're probably talking 15 hours of labor, worth of labor just to get that part on. That's if you did everything else and provided to us in the correct format.
Right, right. I'm just trying to get an idea would it make it easier to record if that equipment was already here?
Right.
And at some point it will, and it'll be here, but.
It provides for better quality too, when you can set it up and you know you've got multiple angles, multiple cameras. And, you know, we see this at city council meeting all the time, is that people quit thinking about the camera being right here.
Right.
But you're also able to better cover not only
Right.
the governing board, because they talk and move around, you can talk to the speakers, the public as they come up. It makes for much better broadcast, too, better quality.
Sure it would.
And I mentioned the emergency public information officer duties. Currently, there's no additional charge if that was needed. But after the last one with the flood, the city administrator did ask Justin if he would consider going through a couple of FEMA certification trainings. And since he's done 7,
Correct.
so that would be an added bonus to the.
Amazing. 7, really, okay.
More to come.
All right.
It all goes back to our whole purpose is trying to give as much public information out to the public that they need as possible.
All right.
Is
well,
this a notice to the county that if we don't pay, we don't have the service, or is?
We, not necessarily, but we can't guarantee coverage. Again, it goes back to, we have certain 28 rooms right now with the city and schools, so that would come first. As Justin says, his salary is paid
Sure.
by the school district activities come first. We currently have 2 remote cameras,
Mhm.
and then he's using, Monday was a perfect example, he had to use his own personal equipment for that
Right.
third.
Right,
It's not saying we wouldn't work with the county, but it says if, we can't guarantee it.
okay. Well, I really think it's important that we've had this, ability to, again, it helps be transparent. I have looked, since I don't live in town, we don't have the MediaCom access, what is it, Channel 4? I hear a lot of people in town that use that a lot, and just on a regular basis, always watch all the meetings.
So we got some big issues going on right now, the law enforcement centers, so it's a
Right,
perfect
right.
example.
Right, so, like I said, it's another way of disseminating information, so we're trying to be transparent. Supervisor Q, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I agree. I think open and dissemination of meetings where we take decisions and take input from the citizens is very important. This board has a history of that. Since Supervisor Cam and I came on, we started recording the Board of Supervisors meetings. That was never done before, and that was done with some opposition at that time. There was a board member who didn't want to do that. I think that's been valuable. It's been used by citizens numerous times since then. And so same thing goes for the video recording of our meetings. I think we're going to be making some changes when we renovate the courthouse in the future regarding this, but I think it's a good idea. I support it.
To be honest, I'm kind of feeling kind of guilty that we asked for the service and never had any indication that we needed to pay for it. We should have been doing that.
It's a constantly evolving,
Yeah.
creature. It's not something you go out and say, well, we're gonna spend this much, and we know it. It changes all the time. If we have cameras that break and we repair it, they need to be replaced.
Yeah,
The studio is evolving, the equipment, people, how they use it. Before, if you wanted to put something on YouTube or stuff, you had to have that studio and access and so forth. People do a lot with their phones and so forth. But in order to get professional quality, to get out to people, we still need to have the pan services and expertise.
and I do appreciate, and Justin, you're coming back in, but, anytime that I've been calling you to ask and request, you've been really good about, providing
it
that
happen.
service, and I appreciate it, so, all right, well, there was no action necessarily on this, but it was more just having you come and present this
Sure.
information, so we do appreciate that. If there's no other questions or comments, you
Yeah.
can go.
Thank you much.
Don't slip too much out there, so be careful. All right.
Fall.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, review action regarding resolution setting the date for an election on the proposition of entering into a loan agreement and issuing bonds for the purpose of acquiring real estate and constructing, furnishing, and equipping a county law enforcement center and of undertaking renovations to the county courthouse. That is a long agenda item. But this is again the reason that we are holding this special meeting. The information that is attached, now is this the updated, Gloria? I know this has been changing here since Friday, but as of this morning,
This has, the recommendation that Jeff Heil had with $13,500. $13 million.
Million,
Excuse
I
me,
know.
500,000. I keep saying that.
I know,
500,000, so, I sent information out to you yesterday regarding,
That was a number that was missing in your,
regarding the two options, the two numbers that need to be filled in on your, is what I provided to you.
why don't I read this so that everybody fully understands what this is saying and what we're looking at, deciding on and approving. So the first thing is, it's resolution number 10-18, resolution setting May 1st, 2018 as the date for an election on the proposition of entering into a loan agreement and issuing bonds for the purposes of acquiring real estate and constructing, furnishing, and equipping a county law enforcement center and of undertaking renovations to the county courthouse. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Floyd County, Iowa has deemed it necessary and advisable that the county be authorized to acquire real estate and construct, furnish, and equip a county law enforcement center and also to undertake renovations to the county courthouse in regards to the projects, and enter into a loan agreement and issue bonds in a principal amount not exceeding, and again right now it's $13,500,000 to finance the cost of the projects. And whereas pursuant to section 331-442 of the Code of Iowa, before the county may enter into a loan agreement and issue its bonds for such purposes, the county must hold a special election upon such proposition and receive a favorable vote from at least 60% of the total votes cast at such special election. And whereas in accordance to section 331-442 of the Code of Iowa, as part of the board's action to set a date for an election on such proposition, the board must publish notice of such proposition, including a statement of the amount and the purposes of the loan agreement and the bonds to be issued, and a statement of the estimated cost of the projects, which notice must be published as provided in section 331.302 of the Code of Iowa, and the minutes of the meeting at which the board adopts a resolution setting the date for an election on the question of entering into the loan agreement and issuing such bonds. Now therefore it is resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Floyd County, Iowa as follows. Section 1. The Board of Supervisors intends to acquire real estate and construct, furnish, and equip a county law enforcement center and undertake renovations to the county courthouse in an estimated cost not to exceed $13,500,000. In accordance with section 331.442 of the Code of Iowa, this cost figure is an estimate and is not intended to be binding on the board in later proceedings related to the projects. Section 2. A special county election is hereby called and ordered to be held in and for the county on May 1st of 2018, at which there will be submitted to the voters of the county the following proposition. Shall the county of Floyd, State of Iowa, enter into a loan agreement and issue its general obligation bonds in an amount not exceeding the amount of $13,500,000 for the purposes of acquiring real estate and constructing, furnishing, and equipping a county law enforcement center and of undertaking renovations to the county courthouse. Section 3. All of the foregoing matters are adopted and resolved by this board, and the county auditor is hereby authorized and directed to issue a proclamation and notice of the proposition and of the time and place of the election, and to take all other actions necessary pursuant to state law to conduct the election. In addition, in accordance with sections 331.305 and 331.442 of the Code of Iowa, the county auditor is hereby authorized and directed to publish the minutes of the board meeting at which this resolution is adopted, including the full text of this resolution, and to publish along with those minutes the board's notice of special bond election that is attached to this resolution. And then section 4 is all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict, and then it would be passed on this date. So that is what this resolution is about. I want to make sure that that is stated so everybody listening to this understands what it is that we're looking at. So, Gloria, I know I should say the attachment with this is the breakdown that Prohaska gave us after meetings with them this last week where we did make some adjustments. They spent Friday, I think, driving back home from our meeting on Thursday night and worked the numbers. There was some revisions that were made. They did add in the additionals. I was trying to think of the ones that were added. So the additional site fill was added to the new construction section. Renovation, they did include the Board of Supervisors. There was also the addition of ramps because of raising the elevation. Oh, let's see, there was, trying to think of any of the major ones. We did talk about the hazardous materials survey and abatement area, which is below your project overhead budget soft costs.
The demolition
The demolition of the
was
property.
included, but the acquisition of
Of
the
properties was
properties
not.
adjacent were not included, so those were added as well.
And then also what we received as of, it was either late last night, which is the adjusted, the bond underwriter service fees from Northline Securities. And you did attach Jeff's email, yeah, which was the breakout.
It's been a long time getting to this point.
So there is question, for the board, whether or not, again, the 13,500,000 is more the not to exceed amount. What we actually go for bond could be less if the board would look at, not maybe taking some of the funding out of general funds. So I'm throwing this out there. I think that's something that we need to take in consideration. Do we change one of those numbers, basically?
If you're talking about doing about that, how much is available in the general fund to do that? 1, 2, 3? No, we're talking million.
Have in your packet your estimated general fund balance as well. After this budget year, your estimated general fund balance is 2.5 million.
My conversation, I know with Dory on Friday too, I said there's so many ways that we can look at this, and I get a little concerned at some point, having the general fund be depleted to a point where I'd be concerned in the future, so there's, we have to look at what the future may bring. It's the unknowns.
I agree completely with that, and would rather proceed with a figure that included the contingencies that were cited in the resolution without taking money from the general fund to include it in the bond referendum. Just as a matter of housekeeping, the resolution needs to be changed to, so there's 2 spots where it says $13,500,000. We need to put dollar signs in front of that in the first whereas and in the first section to be consistent. Because this resolution is going to be printed in the newspapers and people will see that, and they just need to know that we clearly we're talking about $13,500,000 in the first whereas and in first section 1.
Yep.
And dollar signs.
Saving money if they buy a character. Yeah, I mean, when it's all, I don't want to give anybody the perception, that we're hiding money, that, we have available money. If it's in the general fund, that's already theoretically has a use for it. This is the perfect way, this is what it's gonna cost, this is what we need for law enforcement, this is what you need to update the courthouse to bring it into the We're already well into this century.
And, you know, putting this on the question on the ballot is one thing, but it doesn't mean that you would have to. If you would decide you wanted to do acquisitions and demolition without tapping the bond proceeds, you could do that as well and not issue debt for that amount if you
Right.
chose to do that. This
Right.
would just set the limits.
Yeah, so it
If we
doesn't
did
bottleneck
choose
us
to.
into that, we would still have the flexibility to be able to make those decisions later. Yeah. Okay.
I'm fine with the way it is.
All right.
But I would make a motion to approve resolution 10-18.
I'll second the motion,
Okay,
ask for more discussion.
and absolutely, that was the next thing I was gonna say, I would, open that up for further discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the Board of Supervisors has done a very good job addressing this issue. In fact, we've done our due diligence. When the proposal came to our desk from the committee that had been working on it, there were two critical issues that we dealt with. One, we are now ensuring that the law enforcement center will be built outside of the 500-year floodplain. Critical infrastructure such as a law enforcement center needs to be built in an area that's not going to flood. Our architects have amended the plan to allow for that. Secondly, this board insisted on a recommendation from the Floyd County Communication Board on a recommendation whether or not to locate the dispatch center in the new law enforcement center, and we got that recommendation last Monday. I'm pleased that we have a video recording of that meeting so people can go back and hear all the things that were said. Because it was a long meeting and a lot of opinions were raised, and a lot of questions were addressed. And I'm very pleased with the result of the majority of that board to recommend that the dispatch center go to the Floyd County Law Enforcement Center. Originally, I had some reservations regarding the timing of the bond referendum. And I've been presented information from both Prohaska, the auditor, the chair of our board regarding voter turnout, and I've changed my mind on that. I do feel that now is the time to call for a vote. I feel we've addressed the issues, and by having a vote now, we would save in construction costs as a result of inflation, and those are cited in some of the material that was given. So I think we've done our job. I think it's time to call for a vote on behalf of the citizens, and I'm comfortable with, very comfortable with the work that's been done to date, and look forward to a successful bond referendum. And by that I mean successful that we're going to turn out as many people as we can. We're going to educate as many people as we can. And there's a committee that's going to do that. But the proposal as it exists today has my full support.
I'm really happy about this one too, just because since the day I got here, it's a really frustrating, and some of this conversation you heard today, you're trying to operate a modern business in an old historical building. Well, there's a lot of ways that the building holds you back from being modern. We're trying to put a camera system in there, but the room is too small and needs to be bigger. We don't have enough room for the crowds that we get sometimes. So, and we also are dealing with a 1940 heating system. So this resolution brings us everything. It's going to update the courthouse and give us a law enforcement center. And when people come and view that jail, do their tours, some people are probably going to be appalled. Some people are going to be amazed that we've been able to hold this together as long as we have, under the circumstances we got. So hopefully it'll be a good turnout. We all want it to be a good turnout. So,
And my comments are, you two have been on this a lot longer than I have, and Gloria. I mean, we talked about this on Friday, you know, while we were working on putting this resolution together. And I've been on it for just a little over a year. Just in that time, it's been amazing to me what I've learned, you know, about what I know in my heart needs to be done to this existing courthouse to make it, you know, continue to be standing and be used, and it takes money to be able to do that, let alone our needs for the jail. And I don't want to lose sight on, you know, this is a jail project too, along with the renovations, and just witnessing and being up there to see the existing jail facility, it is very concerning, and so I feel like this is absolutely the right thing, you know, that we need to do to make those improvements and to improve the safety of our citizens. I do want to mention that the time that I've been here, being chair over the Citizens Committee, has been a great experience. It's been a true team effort, and I don't want to take that lightly. The people that have committed and attended every one of our meetings has been very instrumental in getting us to this point. I do believe also now in this next group of committee that we have, that they've got a lot of work ahead of them, you know, campaigning. We need to get those facts out. And I do believe that it will be successful, and I agree with you, Supervisor Kuhn, that it's going to be important more than ever that we educate our citizens and get them to get out and vote. So anyway, I'm very happy to get this to this point. So any further comments? I guess Auditor Gloria Carr, would you like to, I mean, you've been again so key to this also, in helping with perhaps giving them the information that they needed also to make sure that they felt understood, you know, even what our constraints are within this existing courthouse.
I just concur with everything that's been said. I like the idea of not only raising the elevation, but we have also, even if we were to have built this courthouse outside of in the unincorporated area, but we've met even the requirements that of raising the level that would meet our own unincorporated area requirements for building. I think education is going to be a key part, because we have a study that shows that it would cost us significantly more to hold and transport inmates in our existing facility, to remodel our existing facility to hold, but then transport inmates to another facility. And that education is going to be key for people recognizing that this costs less money to go forward with the project that you're pursuing than holding and transport, which I think I'm proud of the county, proud to be a part of this, and glad to see it going forward. Look forward to the project. Hope the bond passes, and I will do everything I can to help get voters out there to vote as well and educate voters. I'm committed to that.
Education is key. All right. No further comments? With that, we will take a vote. All those in favor of passing resolution 10-18, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has been passed. Next on the agenda is review action regarding appointment to the Area Development Corporation. And
I just have Doug's information.
I was gonna
so
say,
you might
Doug,
as well
do you
share
wanna-
your information, Doug.
I had a conversation with Butch Betzinger, who is the new mayor of Nashua, and the way he explained it to me was that Angela Dietz was our appointment before, and she elected not to run for mayor. She didn't run for mayor. And shortly after the election, one councilman quit, the second councilman quit, so they had a special election. Angela ran for the special election and won that position. In the meantime, there's been a couple more, but anyway, which said, you know, the commotion, he didn't realize that we had not appointed her, but the other day, Angela told him that she would go back and be the appointment now that she wasn't the mayor, she'd have a little more time, so she would like to remain in.
So she's been in that position and she wants to.
She's been a member for what, a year, 2 years maybe?
Longer than.
Yeah.
Okay,
Couple years maybe,
all right.
yeah. So apparently we need to reappoint her.
Right, because she had resigned. Tim Fox had notified us that she had resigned because of
Right.
stepping down as mayor.
How long is the term for?
It's a 2-year appointment, and so it would be filling, the term would
Remainder
be,
of the
I think this January was the beginning of the 2 years. I believe you appointed them. Let me just look back at your January minutes.
So 2020.
Actually, this would be to fill through December 31st of 2018. She quit in the middle of one of the 2-year appointment, so.
I'd move to appoint Angela Dietz of Nashland to fill the remaining 2-year term through December 31st, 2018 on the Charles City Area Development Corporation.
Second.
You second, okay. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, next on the agenda is discussion regarding Board of Supervisor goals for the year. I had asked to bring this on, or put this on our agenda. Again, I know the Area Development Corporation has asked that we come and share what we believe our goals are. Since I've been on the board, I haven't heard that we've had goals. Has there been goals established in other years? Or how frequently? Maybe not.
I don't believe we've had a goal-setting session where we formally addressed our goals and plans for a new year but I think it's a good idea.
Well, what I was gonna say is that, we certainly have one, I know, for, as far as being fiscally responsible. I think we can certainly talk about, this year's budget once we, approve it, and can refer to what we are going to carry out, as far as our responsibility for this year in setting that particular budget. The other one for safety would be another key, and of course then the project, would be a key one for that. I would imagine even included in safety, you could add the health, side. Now, Gloria, are you writing notes down?
Oftentimes, in these strategic planning sessions, there's a group or organization that assists the board in developing their goals.
Right.
They're structured to do that. Does ISAC have any resources that might be available to us to accomplish this? That might be a very good place to
Because
start.
it does, it's just like the strategic planning session that you're doing, for the Area Development Corporation and having
That
an
was you
outside
and I board,
source.
wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It helps focus your ideas and your thoughts into
Well, and
something that's written.
right, and again, I'm just exploring this with both of you to see if, if you feel that it is a good activity to take place. It does, it helps you to make sure that we're not losing sight of, what we deem is most important, and our responsibility as Board of Supervisors for our county.
You're thinking more than a mission statement, you're thinking of goals for each year, or? That was part of I attended that first one, they had the strategic planning thing, and part of that was they focused a lot on that mission statement and some of that.
Well, I've gone out and I've been researching, other counties, even what they have done. I think once you establish them, then every year it's just a matter of looking back on what you planned from the previous year and just saying, has it changed? Is there any reason to make those changes? I think with us right now, we've never taken that activity, so. I wanted to bring that up to the board and just see if you felt that it was maybe a worthwhile activity to go ahead and pursue.
I know that the chamber, when I go to those meetings, they have a off-site retreat, they call them. And a lot of times they'll have a speaker or something. Is that what you're thinking? Something like that? Or?
I don't know as it has to be that formal. Like I said, I think just from a county perspective, whether it's, like I said, there's safety, there's fiscal responsibility, there's, communication, being open and transparent, and, I think there's some true, goals that I don't think it has to be that lengthy, but just maybe 3 or 4, that encompasses really what we took on as a responsibility as a board of supervisor, to make sure that we're taking these steps, that we're, overseeing and making sure that these are the goals that we feel are most important, for us each and every year.
With the changes, with the requirement with the court system to have every year, the courthouse security committee files a plan regarding safety and sets goals. So there are 5-year goals that have been set through that committee.
And maybe it's just a matter of just making sure that we're, that we're tapped into that, and we understand what those are.
Yeah, and as a supervisor, as a chair on that committee, you are the new representative for that. Yeah, so that's included things like panic alarms, camera systems, closing down, the north end, or the west entrance, and
Right.
different things like that have come through the courthouse security committee.
Well, we talked about,
Yeah,
I
Board of
mean, what
Supervisors.
happens in the future, and I don't know if it's near future or that, or not, when we talked about, people that actually come into this, courthouse that would have to go through security check, which in some courthouses do today, and ours we don't necessarily, so.
I could see that maybe there could be some opportunities for building projects, which a lot of that's gonna be taken care of here, but I know, like, I had a plan for replacing carpet throughout the courthouse and things like that, and, IT systems is one of the things that maybe, that's why Jeff might be here too, I don't know.
No.
But,
You're listening.
but, just hardware, that type of thing with, moving forward with.
Right.
Certainly, county residents would enjoy knowing, what are the plans for the roads and the bridges in Floyd County in the next few years?
Right.
We do have a DOT plan. We approve our proposal with our county engineer, but we could focus more on that, and I think getting the public's input would be a big part of this
Right.
process. And a plan that goes through the board, but getting some opportunity for input for people, what's important to them.
Well, and I think, and then sharing it on our website, so it's visible to everybody too,
That
It
seems
doesn't
to
have
be
to be
the-
down to details, but it could just be high level, these are the key. And then they can just drill down into the detail that they wanna see it, like engineering, what are we doing with secondary roads and activities? So, all right, so if you are open to that, I may just go ahead and see what I can, facilitate or get somebody as an outside group, to come in and maybe kinda help us walk through it. And again, it would have to be in a workshop meeting,
Is available.
I know that Iowa State has the same kind of program as this UNI thing.
Yeah.
There's students that come and
Mhm.
whether or not that's something.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Well, that's what I wanted to talk about on that. So if there's no further discussion, item 8 is the fiscal year 19 budget planning.